Hello everyone, I'm Mike Beltberger, and it's time to do a race recap for the Wingless Wednesday night of racing at Shellhammer Dirt Track, the little track by the river, located right off of Route 61 just north of Leesport, Pennsylvania. We had two visitors at the Speedway, one being a wanted visitor and one being someone we really didn't want to show up, but we had no choice as Mother Nature decided to spray a little bit of moisture over the 1/8 mile high bank speedway, causing a 75-minute delay. Once she cleared out, the sun started to shine for a little bit, and special thanks to the big tire racers for packing the track. We got things started. Instead of at 7 o'clock, we threw our first green for the qualifying events at 8:05. So we had a night ahead of us that we wanted to keep moving. We kept the show moving as quickly as possible and as safely as possible. And for the guest that we were glad to see, Motor Racing Network, Steve Post. You hear him and see him occasionally on television and also hear him on the radio. NASCAR reporter Steve Post was there last night, taking in the racing action at Shellhammer Dirt Track and loving every minute of it. I even let Steve announce one of the qualifying events, and he thought it was a blast. So glad to have Steve Post visiting Shellhammer Dirt Track. Now on to the racing action. First up was the All-Star Slingshots. Fantastic field of All-Star Slingshots. And taking the win in the 17L was Lindsey Garles. Second was Dan Lane Jr. in the 12 Senior, with James Benz in the 68 getting third. Colton Williams in the 911C finishing fourth, and rounding out your top five, John Martinsky in the 27. Dan Lane Jr. actually stole second place from James Benz with 2 laps to go. Some fantastic racing in the All-Star Slingshots. Again, only one caution slowing down the racing action in the All-Star Slingshot 20-lap main. I believe that's 4 races in a row. We've either went nonstop or only had one caution. Congrats to the Slingshot racers on their night of racing at Shellhammers. Next up was the 600 Micros, and what a race that was. Damian Bauer got out to a lead about lap number 3 and looked to be setting sail for a win at Shellhammer Dirt Track, but things changed on lap 16 as Trevor Kovalars decided to mash the gas a little bit going into turn number 1, getting by Damian Bauer, and following close behind was Richie Hartman, Chase Ware, and Rocky Johnson Sr. They just freight trained Damian Bauer, and he almost went from first to like 5th or 6th in just 2 turns, but things shook out that way. After 20 laps, Trevor Kovalars getting the win in number 5. Finishing second was Richie Hartman in the 39. Chase Ware, celebrating a birthday, got third in the 22. Rocky Johnson Sr. was fourth in the 42 and sliding in just under Bauer at the checker. A fantastic run for Luke Repsick in the 7R. And again, the 600 Micros only had 2 slowdowns. So some fantastic racing on the high banks, and we cannot thank Dave Courtier and Willie and the pit crews, the drivers I should say, for coming out and restoring the racetrack after a 75-minute rain delay from Mother Nature. Next up was the Junior Sprints, 15 laps, and getting the win was Andrew Ferriola with Aiden Buckwalter getting second. Tyler Johnson came out to take the green, but as soon as they started a pace lap, he's had chain issues all night. I don't know if it was a chain issue, but he pulled off the speedway. But Ferriola getting the win with Aiden Buckwalter finishing second in the Junior Sprints. Fourth main event was the 270 Micros. Again, the field was down. A lot of people figuring you might be rained out, but Dave held firm, and we got the races in anyway. Getting the win was Dylan Corona, a fantastic lap 19 pass, getting by Jeff Ubel. Getting the win was Dylan Corona in the 53. Getting second, Jarrett Imler in the 04. Third was Jeff Ubel in the 21J. Matt McAnally was a top 2 Charger. But again, a couple cars, they just lined up, found a quicker way around the speedway, dropping Matt from second back to fourth at the checker and finishing fifth in a 22H Clinton Hauser. I believe there was only 2 cautions for this event, Cautions were at a minimum. We wanted to keep the show moving, and that's exactly what happened. 50th event on the Speedway was the restricted 600 micros, and coming from the 5th starting spot was last week's winner, Joey Denisi in the 50, grabbing the win. Finishing second was Enzo Udicello in the 1, with Archer Jumper in the 28 finishing 3rd, and Cole Sermon in the 33 finishing 4th. Jocelyn Durince got her 36 pulled out onto the Speedway from the pit area, but on the pace lap, the 36 just went fire, so she pulled it into the infield as a DNF. Hard luck to Jocelyn in the restricted 600 micros. Stage 1 modifieds, it was an A.J. Gerhardt show. He took the lead at the drop of the green and was not to be denied. Finishing second was a strong competitor, Brett Smith in the 25, with Dakota George, a feature winner in the 10, getting 3rd, and Leroy Sorensen getting 4th in the 87. Keeping things moving, the 7th event on the Speedway, 15 laps for the Junior Slingshots. Again, Junior Slingshot car count was down. There was actually some of the drivers, it was their graduation days, so they decided to take part in that instead of coming as Speedway. I can see the importance of that, so hope to see some of the drivers back again next week. Getting the win, Aubrey Romig in the 35A. Second, Cheyenne Snodderly. TJ Crone and Rocky Johnson Jr. were second and third, but did not pass Tech. So that moved Cheyenne Snodderly up in the second, with Aubrey Romig getting the win in the 35A. Final event of the evening was the 125 micros, and starting 4th was last week's feature winner, Seth Gregory, and an all-out blitz to get to the front. He was, I believe, your leader after 2 laps. So Seth Gregory taking the lead on 2 laps and holding it for the remaining 13, getting the win in the 125 micros. Dylan Yinkst, who had engine issues in his qualifying event, regrouped, got everything back and running, and finished second in the 112, with David Gibson in the 14G getting 3rd. Even with the 75-minute delay, we got the final checker in at 10:04. Some fantastic racing at the little track by the river. Hardly any cautions during the course of the night. The show was moving rather quickly, and we'd like to thank everybody that showed up at the Speedway on the fan side, showed up at the Speedway on the race team side. The drivers, again, for your cooperation in track packing. Also, we have a couple new sponsors for the concession stand vouchers, those being Just Born, the makers of Peeps, Mike and Ike's, and Hot Tamales, and also Briningsville VFW 8282. Welcome aboard to these sponsors. And again, my daughter Jen Feltberger sponsoring the Fan of the Week. Hope to see everybody back at the little track by the river, Shellhammer Dirt Track, for another night of Wingless Wednesday racing on Wednesday, June the 17th. Please have a safe and happy week, and see you at the Speedway.